Welcome to the Web Prospect setup video. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Web Prospect does and show you how to set it up to get contacts into your database. The problem that Web Prospect is solving is if you have a web form on your website where people fill in their name and company and hit the submit button, that doesn't go directly into your Act database. Typically those forms email you a message, and that message looks a lot like this. It's a text message. It has one data item per line, and it has a label with a separator, and then the value. So first name is John, phone is so on and so on. Web Prospect knows how to read these emails, figure out which fields go where in your database, and creates a contact with that data. Or if that contact already exists in your database, in your Act database, it will merge in the new data with the old in that existing contact. So I'm going to copy this data right now just to get set up and copy it to the clipboard and go to Web Prospect. This is what Web Prospect looks like when you first set it up. It's the main page is where you really do all of the work after you get it set up. The first thing you need to do, though, is to go to the accounts page. And I've cheated a little bit here. I've already set up a POP account in the database, but I also need to tell it what Act database we're concerned with. So I'm going to click there and pick Act 8 Demo, and the username here is Chris Huffman, and there's no password, and I'll save that data. And now I'll go back here. Now, I had copied that data into my clipboard. I'm now going to paste. And what that does is it's like downloading a mail, only it's doing it from the clipboard. It creates a file here with the record that was in my email. So here's first name, phone, company, what we saw now. It's removed the separators, and it's added some color, and it's tried to format it a little nicely. The raw input is there, and this is the mapped input. Now the blue are fields that exist in the Act demo database exactly as they appear here. And if you have your own database with your own custom fields, Web Prospect will open up that database and get all the field information out of that. But in this case, the red are fields that don't exist in Act in this form. So we need to tell Web Prospect where those form fields go. So if I click here and then look over at the mappings column here, it'll say the form field is first name, and it's unknown what to do with that. So the default behavior for Web Prospect is to add those things as a note, but we don't really want it as a note. We want it mapped into a field. There are other options: ignore a field, add to a group, insert as a note history, auto map, and that's what the blues are, or map to a field. So we want to map first name to the first name, and that already comes up. So we pick first name, and now it's done. Now note that it's over here, it's gone to blue. So I will click email and map that to the email field, and click here and pick last name, map that. Now note if I type the first letter of the field name, it'll skip down to there. So there's last name. Last results, I will map to the last results field. Now that's good for identifying if you put a last results field in your form, then you know which form that the contact came in from. So it's a good way perhaps of keeping track of where the lead came from. Especially if you have different forms on your website, you can have each form identify themselves in just as a text item, and these can be set up as what are known as hidden fields and hidden text fields. It's in the documentation. Country, map to country, and freebie email, we're going to insert that as a note history, so we don't have a field for that. So now note that goes to gray when because that's not being mapped to a field, it's being mapped to the notes history. And now we're done. All the fields are blue, and I can click add here and it will now add this contact to the database. And boom, it's gone. Now if you look down here, it said John Wayne from Western Boots was added. And if we go to the History tab and click Show History, it'll open up the database that's being kept of the contacts that were added. And it will say that it was added or merged here, because if it finds a duplicate, it will merge John Wayne and some various things. So that's all fine. Now let's go to Act and really prove that it's there. So we will look up on Create Today. And because we just added it, you will now see that John Wayne at Western Boots is the CEO, and here's that freebie email that was mapped to the yes field. And there you have it. There's a lot more about Web Prospect, about special mapping options and things like that, but that's the basic operation. I wanted to just cover that in the first video. We'll do more videos on other topics also available on this website. Thank you very much.